I know what you're wondering. Where have I been? Not making content. That's for sure. Actually, that's not true. I made 3 reading vlogs that I completely scrapped and threw out all the footage, some of which that were half edited. And then I did make 1 reading vlog that you would have just seen a couple days ago, which was Punk 57, but that's the only usable content that I got. I made an entire reading vlog for All's Well, and the only thing I didn't do was the review, and I edited the entire video up until the end and ended up scrapping it because the video didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense because my opinions about All's Well don't make any sense. You'll see that later in the video when I get to that book. But then I also had a reading vlog for, God, what was it? Yolk. I had a reading vlog for Yolk. I had a reading vlog for The Kind Worth Killing. And I didn't like the footage that I got for that. And then I had another reading vlog that, it was a weekly reading vlog. And it was so boring. I think it was like an anonymous girl, The Wife Between Us, and A Lesson in Vengeance. And the video was so boring. It was so boring. I couldn't do it. And I've just like not been great about putting my makeup on because I just have a lot of anxiety. I know, you know what I mean, like, I know, you know what, listen, I'm sure everybody has anxiety and I am not the person that has it the most. And, you know, I'm grateful for that. That's for sure. You know, I'm blessed with not having to deal with as much anxiety as I feel like my friends have to deal with. But this moving situation, whew, I'm a very habitual person and like, it's really, really getting to me. It's really getting to me. Like I walked around my neighborhood today and I wanted to cry because I was like, I don't want, like, I know this neighborhood. I know that I turn left here. I know I turn right here. I know that when I'm walking and I'm reading, I know the street. I know where the potholes are. I know what I'm doing. I know where the little free libraries are. I know that the Wells Fargo ATM is exactly 1.1 miles away. Anyway, all of that to say, it's been a minute since I've had a video. Hi, how have you been? How are we doing? I did read a lot of books in September, to be honest. So even though I wasn't really coming out with content, I was consuming content. So hopefully we'll have a pretty entertaining video for the wrap up that we're about to get into. I believe I read like 17 books about-ish, and then there's 2 books that I'm currently reading, and we still have a day and a half left of September, so if I end up finishing one of them, then I will pop in a clip at the very end. But anyway, let's get on with the video. And the first book I read is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. Now, I know I've seen the movie a long time ago, and then I also rewatched the movie like 4 years ago so that I could do a scene for it in my acting class, but I only watched that scene, not the entire movie. So gratefully, when I listened to this book, which I did listen to it on audio, I didn't remember everything that was going to happen. But this is a book where you're following 2 different like gangs or like different sides of the track, basically is what they call it. So you have the Greasers and the Socias. So the Greasers is who we're following. We're following a boy named Pony Boy, and then his brothers, rather, the brothers maybe not related to him, but that his found family because their parents are just like absent and they're raising themselves, okay? So the Greasers are basically like the poor kids. And then you have the Socias who are more rich and well-to-do or whatever. So this is really a story about how when there are like gangs or cliques or these kind of things, that it is just perpetuated generationally without actually looking into like why you don't like these people and maybe that they're not that different from you, and how hard it is to be open-minded when you're told not to be. Like you are raised to believe that these people are different from you and that they're other and they want to harm you and cause you ill and that you should never talk to them or be a part of them. So you can never even get to know any of them to see how wrong you both are. And I think that Pony Boy in this book, he's so beautiful. He's such a beautiful, like he has such a gorgeous innocence about him that I think that the audiobook really highlights. I listened to this on audio. It only took me like 3 hours to listen to it because I think the audiobook is only like 5 hours long or something, but it is so gorgeous. The narrator just puts this like amazing youthful lilt in Pony Boy's voice that made him feel so real to me that I swear I felt like I could pick up my phone and call this boy and like hear about his life and like just listen to him and like I wanted to know he was okay because he was just so beautiful, and I really, really love that. And I think that it was just an amazing message that S.E. Hinton like ended up portraying about like you don't know these other people. Like, maybe you should take a look at that instead of just always assuming they're trying to do you wrong. And it was basically like years and years and years of perceived slights, because say the Socias would do something and they didn't even realize it was going to negatively impact the Greasers, and the Greasers think they did it on purpose. So the Greasers retaliate the Socias, and then the Socias are like, you did what? Okay, then we're going to retaliate against this. And then Ponyboy and all his friends end up getting involved in this in a very serious way that they did not intend, and you're basically following them trying to dig their way out of it. And it's sad and it's beautiful, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. I think that it is a classic. It's a more modern classic, but S.E. Hinton wrote this book when she was 15 years old. Okay, we stand a legend, okay? We stand a legend. The next couple I'm going to be super brief about, because it's not just that I can't remember, it's that nothing happened, and it's blood on the tracks, okay? I read volume 1, 2, and 3. And you'd think after 3 volumes, I would like get what was going on. And the thing is, I'm afraid that I get what's going on and that it's that nothing is going on, okay? Because all of the things that took place in those 3 volumes could have taken place in 1 volume, and you still would have needed to have a twist at the end to make it worthwhile. Basically, you're following this woman, and here's the thing though. I understand why people like it. I think the art is beautiful. I think it is very, like, kind of eerily, like, atmospheric. It's, like, densely emotional, but it doesn't say anything. Like, there's no dialogue. Like, there's literally no dialogue. I read all 3 of these in, like, 30 minutes. I swear, like, all 3 of them together in 30 minutes, because there's no dialogue. You're just like, that's it. So basically you're following this mother and her son, and the mother is very, very protective of her son. But like, I didn't feel like it was too much, but everyone else was looking at her like she was crazy. And I was like, yeah, I mean, like, maybe a little bit, but like, was I supposed to be thinking this is horror? I was more looking at the other people like, how about y'all back off, okay? Like, how about you back up? Like, maybe she's scared, okay? Like, maybe she has a right to be scared. The world is scary. Anyway, I don't even, there's like something that happens where this family is telling her that she's really overprotective, and they are not overprotective of their son that's around the same age, and he's way more rambunctious and rebellious. And the boy that's rebellious gets into an accident. And the mother of our, like, the main character, is kind of is she involved? Who knows? I rated these all 2 stars. I thought that the illustration was really pretty, but just nothing was happening. Like, in all 3 volumes, that one event is literally all that happens. For 3 volumes, that's way too many fucking pages. That's way too much money to spend on one thing. I'm getting heated. Let's just move swiftly on. The next audiobook I listened to was He Started It by Samantha Downing, in preparation for not only rereading My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing, but also her new release, For Your Own Good, which I've heard is very dark academia, and I'm really looking forward to that one. He Started It, I ended up really liking. I didn't like it as much as My Lovely Wife, obviously, but it was a really fun and really exciting time. I feel like people haven't been giving this one that good of ratings, which I don't really understand. I mean, I'm not saying it's a 5-star book, but I gave it 4 stars. It probably is more realistically a 3.5, but I had a really fun time listening to it. It was very easy to follow along with. I listened to it while I was repainting my doors of my apartment, because I already told you I'm moving out soon. So I had to repaint those. And I listened to the entire thing in like maybe a day and a half, or maybe it was 1 day. I don't know. I busted through it. It was so exciting. It's basically where you're following like this group of siblings, and you're following them in like 2 different timelines. One when they were a kid and they went on this road trip with their grandfather, and then also in the present timeline where their grandfather has passed away and put into his will that each of them are going to inherit $1 million. Each of the grandkids will inherit $1 million if they complete the same road trip they went on when they were kids. Now, obviously that sounds strange. You're like, why? And through the book, you are kind of trying to figure out why he's telling them to go on this road trip. And then also there's another underlying mystery that's going on from their past and in the present that's like coming back to bite them in the ass from the past to the present that you're also following along with. There was a lot of mystery going on. There was a lot of like, not thrills necessarily, but kind of thrilling secrets being thrown around that I really liked. I also really like a sibling setting because there's just, like, to me, the main character's older brother and her, I was like, yeah, that is how my older brother acts. Like, that's like exactly who he's like, what he's like. So me reading it felt like I was in the story. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm here, I'm with it, I understand, I would do the same thing. Love it. Now, I do think it was one of those, like, it's a lot of, like, kind of fast, frilly thrills, but done in a really good way. Like, I really liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was entertaining. It was fun. I think the cover is cool. I gave it 4 stars. I don't know how to talk about this book. I already said it before, but All's Well by Mona Awad. I don't know. Oh, okay. I was going to read this book physically, which I would highly suggest because I don't think Mona Awad's books should be taken through audio, and I love audio, but I tried to listen to the audio of Bunny one time and it was freaking terrible, and I love that physical book, like 5 out of 5 stars. So listening to All's Well, I liked the audio experience, but she has such a weird writing style that it just doesn't get there in audio form, I don't feel like. But I was going to read the physical book, and then the shipping of the book got canceled. What? And it was like weeks after I'd ordered it, and I was like so annoyed. So a lovely subscriber ended up sending me the audio, thank you so much, and I listened to it, and I was listening to parts over and over again being like, I really need to intake this, I need to intake this, but like it wasn't getting there fully for me. Now here's the thing, I am ending up giving it 4 stars even though I'm so confused about my thoughts on it. I don't think it's as good as Bunny, like not even close, it's not as good as Bunny, but it's still really good because, okay, Mona Awad is like a fucking weirdo writing books for other fucking weirdos, and I love her for it. And her writing style is just so weird. It's so weird, and like, I don't know, like just the way she describes things and talks about things is so interesting and unique, and love her. But this book is about a drama teacher. I think, oh, is she an English professor? No, she's a drama professor, yeah. A theater performer that got injured on stage when she was performing All's Well, and now she has a chronic, serious pain, but you can't see it, and everybody tells her that it doesn't exist, it's not real, it's in her head, and she's like, well, explain my body then, because I literally am so like crippled I can't walk. Now, she is a drama department teacher, and she wants to put on All's Well, but her students want to put on Macbeth, and they are like literally rioting. They're like revolting against her. They don't want to do it, and they're doing everything they can to put on Macbeth instead. And then weird shit starts happening. It's weird. It's like, is she cured all of a sudden? Is it like witchcraft? Like, what's going on? Is it poison? Like, what's happening? Is it like, you know how they say, like, if you say Macbeth in a theater, that's bad luck? Like, you can't call it that? It's like that. I don't know. I gave it 4 stars. I really love Mona Awad, but there was just something about the book that like wasn't hitting necessarily. But I will say that in the book, her best friend, Grace, is perfection, and reminding me so much of my best friend, Grace. And I adored that relationship. I thought it was really good, which Mona Awad's other book, Bunny, I felt the same way about Ava and that story. So that must be a running theme with her. I don't know. But anyway, I'm confused about how I feel. Let's move on. Let's just get this one out of the way. Another book I was super confused about my feelings for is A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. What did I read? What happened in this book? Am I an idiot? Like, did everybody else know what was going to happen in this book, and then I'm just sitting over here, like, having not understood the summary, and I'm just so confused? Because I feel like what I thought for the first 75% of the book I was going to get was definitely not what I got. At the end, it was totally different. Completely different. I went into this book thinking it was going to be about witches, and while the witches are a red herring, the book is not about the witches. It's not about the witches, okay? It's about this whole other messed up things. There's a lot of messed up stuff that's going on in this book. It's crazy. It's wild. What? Like, okay. Let me tell you what I'm pretty sure the summary says this book is about. And it is... So you're following this girl, and she is dealing with the trauma of her girlfriend having passed away like 2 years before. I think that she took a year out of school. She was at this like boarding school, and now she's going back to the school, and everybody thinks that like, everybody thinks that she was involved, but they never necessarily say that. And they're all looking at her like, but it could be just because they feel bad for her, like they pity her. It's very confusing. Anyway, so that's going on. But there's this new girl that's living in her like kind of dorm room or dormitory or whatever. And this book is hella sapphic. It's a hella sapphic, okay? And I loved that. That was really good. And it is very dark. This book is dark academia. It's very dark. And this girl, her name's Ellis, that lives in the house now, is like, she's won like a Pulitzer Prize for her writing, which how? Like she's in high school. I have no idea. But she's won a Pulitzer Prize and she's coming there to write a story about like the Dalloway witches. And it's supposed to be like how this school, there was like a bunch of girls that were thought to be witches and they were like burned at the stake and people say that their ghosts live there and everything like that. So Ellis is there to write a book about that. Is that what the book is about? Is it? Like, we're not going to spoil it. I'm not going to get into anything, but maybe I'm confused. But I feel like I was misled. Perhaps purposely misled? I don't know. I ended up giving this 3.5 stars because I feel like it's probably a 4-star if I went back and reread it, having the expectations of what I now know about the book. But not having the second reread or having a reread, I honestly am so confused that it's probably a 3-star and I'm giving it the extra half-star because of how fucked up it was. Like, there's a lot of, like, fucked up stuff happened in that book. And then also how sapphic it was, because catch me with that. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, don't take that rating as a solidified rating because I really am still so confused. And for the last audiobook that I listened to The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell. So this is Lisa Jewell's latest book she's come out with. I believe this is the 3rd Lisa Jewell book I've read. I read Watching You and I read Then She Was Gone. Watching You I gave 3 stars and Then She Was Gone I gave 5 stars. So The Night She Disappeared I ended up giving 4 stars. So we really have a range of star ratings when it comes to Lisa Jewell. So Then She Was Gone is my favorite, and it's actually one of my favorite thrillers I've ever read. And this book, The Night She Disappeared, has a similar thing that's done in it that made me love it, which is the mother-daughter relationship. And I think Lisa Jewell just does that really well. In this book, we're following 3 different timelines, which, you know, I kind of feel is too much. But she also made it work, so I'm not upset. But you're following the present timeline, a year before, or is it 2 years before and 2 years after? No. It was a year before and something like that. It was either a year before, 2 years before, whatever. But you're following, like, this mother who, she had her daughter when she was 18. And then when her daughter turns 18, she has a son. So it's like these 3 generations of family that they're all pretty young still, which I thought was very interesting. And that mother-daughter dynamic, and then the daughter also having a son and their dynamic was very interesting. It was very emotional. It was deep. Like, you really care about the characters. And I thought that was really good. I loved all the characters. I thought they were all fantastic, except the daughter's stupid ass boyfriend. I was like, can you just get out of the story? Can you just go? Can you just leave? You're so annoying. It's like when he wasn't boring, he was annoying. And like, honestly, bless Lisa Jewell for it, because I didn't need to read about men. Like, in her books, like, I don't need to read about men. The women are the moment, okay? Which they should be. Hello. But this is following where the boyfriend and the daughter go out to go to a party. Because the mom, like the grandma, I guess, who's only like 38, it's like, go out, have fun, you deserve it, you're a teenager, like, have fun, you're responsible when you're here, you deserve a night to yourself. They go out to have this night by themselves, and they never come back. And everyone's telling the, like, grandma, mom, they just left. Like, they couldn't handle the responsibility, and she's like, you don't understand. They are so responsible, they worship their son, they would never do this. And even, like, the boyfriend's mom is like, yeah, I'm sure they just ran away. Like, what are you doing? Like, boys will be boys. And she's like, my daughter would never. Are you kidding me? So you're following, like, 2 years before when the daughter has her son and her dealing with a lot of, like, turmoil internally. And then 2 years later when the mom, like, the grandma is, like, finally starting to get some answers and clues of what's going on. And I thought it was really good. It's not like it's a 5-star, but like, I really enjoyed it. I think if you want to listen to an audiobook that's a thriller and a mystery, I mean, technically it's not like a thriller, but like a mystery, I think this one was really good. It's very fast paced. It's fun. It's emotional. It's pretty deep. Also, it's shockingly sapphic. Like, I was not anticipating that. And literally anytime there's something like that where it's shockingly sapphic, you can go ahead and bump that up an extra half a star. because fantastic. And also, I loved Scarlett. Like, the character Scarlett, loved her. So realistic, so weird. I just really liked her. Anyway, 4 stars. Now we're on to books that I physically read, starting out with an absolute weirdo. Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by Eric LaRocca. I saw this on so many different people's channels when we were doing Summerween, and I was like, what is that about? Okay. And then Gabby recently read this, and I didn't realize how short the book was. And when she talked about it, I was just so invested. I'm like, I need to read that. And then I was actually gifted this book from Heather Faulkner, so thank you so much. I read it in like one sitting. I think that I went on a walk and I got back and just like sat on the couch and finished the book. And physically reading for me takes a good bit of time. So I read this in like 4 hours or something, which that's so embarrassing. But like, listen, I read slow. What do you want me to say? This is so good. It feels amazing. Like, if you're wanting to physically read this, do it. It's so good. I'm obsessed. Obsessed. It's hard to explain what this book is about because it's so fucking weird. This has Bunny vibes. Like, if Fight Club and Bunny had a baby and it was gay, it would be this book. Seriously. So this is about these two characters, these two lesbians, hey, that it's all told through emails and instant messenger. And it's about this girl who posts basically like on Craigslist, trying to sell an apple peeler that she says has a very vivid backstory, this very amazing story behind it. And she's trying to sell it for $250. And she gives this whole giant reason as to why. And it is like a really good story to post on Craigslist. Honestly, I thought that was really good. And she is like, gets a message from this random woman online who's like, I would love to buy it. And then it's kind of like this, like, the main girl is like, oh, like, I'm so happy. Like, this is going to help me pay my rent. And the other girl's like, oh, like, are you going through a hard time? And the main character's like, yeah, like I am really broke, like I can't pay my rent. And then she kind of like, not accidentally, but like feels comfortable with this woman and is like divulging her like tragedies in her life and things that have happened to her and how her life is in a really bad spiral right now. And the other woman is like, send me your bank routing information, I'm gonna pay your rent. And she's like, what? But then she's so down on her luck that she like can't say no. So she does it. And then it kind of starts this like sadomasochistic BDSM online relationship between them, where it's like the woman that has the money is like getting her to like do things for her and sending her money, but like the other girl like wants to do it, and it gets really weird. It gets really weird, and it definitely wound up in a place that I was not anticipating. And I really felt like this book could have used like an extra 200 pages. I was like, come on. Oh my God. I swear at the end, I was like, that's it. That's it. I was so mad. And I think that's what Gabby said, is that she bumped it down a star. I think she gave it 4 stars because she said it needed 200 extra pages. But I was like, I don't know, because what if in that extra 200 pages, oops, it's okay. I'll pick that up later. In the extra 200 pages, I had like fallen out of love with it. I'm giving this 5 stars. I loved it. I loved the time I had with it. I was like gasping on every other page. Freaking loved it. 5 stars. And then I read An Anonymous Girl, followed by The Wife Between Us by Sarah Pekkanen and Greer Hendricks. I actually ended up DNFing The Wife Between Us. I did finish An Anonymous Girl, and I gave this one 3 stars, and I gave The Wife Between Us 2 stars because I ended up DNFing it at like 80% or something. So I was like, I feel like I've read enough of the book to say I was going to give it 2 stars. Like, I don't think it would have been below 2 stars, and it definitely wouldn't have been higher. So these books, I knew for a fact that they were not going to be like good ratings because they just universally don't have good ratings. And even reading the synopsis, I was like, they're just going to be a fun time, fun, flashy. I can get through them really easily, which thankfully is what ended up happening. I thought I was going to like The Wife Between Us more than Anonymous Girl. That didn't end up being the case. So let me see if I can remember what these are about. An Anonymous Girl is about this hairdresser who is down on her luck and doesn't have much cash. And when she goes to style this rich girl's hair, the girl talks about that she's going to this like kind of like therapy experiment thing where she's going to get paid like $400 or something. She's going to get paid like a good amount of money. And the hairstylist shows up to the appointment and pretends to be that girl so that she can make the money. She goes in and it's basically a computer asking her a bunch of questions about her moral code. And there's a bunch of people that go to this experiment and she is like hand selected because of just her moral code and things about her, I guess, or whatever. But then you're getting more and more into like the person behind the computer and why they picked her and what they want her for and what they're doing. And I thought it was interesting. I thought it was good. I thought it was fast. It was fun. I think this is a book that you'll pick up, you'll enjoy it, and then you'll immediately get rid of it because while it's a fun time, that's all it is. Like, it's not deep. It's just here and then it's over. Anyway, then I read The Wife Between Us, and I DNF'd this one, obviously, like I said. I just didn't care, and I set this down to pick up something else. I set this down to pick up Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, and when I went to pick this up again, I found that I didn't care. Like, I didn't care to find out what happened in the end. This, oh my God, do I even remember what this is about? This is about, I read it, I did. It's about a woman who, her husband is now remarried to this other woman, and she's like obsessed with the guy still, and is trying to figure out like the new woman and what her deal is, and you're following like both of their points of view, but then there's like a twist. It was boring. It was boring. Like, I didn't care. I really didn't care. I gave it 2 stars, and that's all I have to say about it. Now we're getting to the reviews that you guys really want to hear about. First of which, the new release, 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard. Now, I did annotate in this book. I physically read this as the last couple ones I have. And let's see, the red annotations were for the COVID talk in this book, and then the blue was for anything else, just random. So what this is about, this is such an interesting summary. This is about these 2 people, Oliver and Sierra, and they're in Dublin, and it is at the beginning of when COVID first reaches the Dublin shores. So they meet in the supermarket, and they hit it off, they go on a date or 2, a couple dates, and then the pandemic really starts to pop off and lockdown is imminent and it's about to happen. And they decide, thinking lockdown will only last for 2 weeks, that they are going to do lockdown together. And she doesn't tell her family because she doesn't want to be judged or whatever. She doesn't tell friends, coworkers, anything. She decides to move in with him for the 2 weeks so that it won't fizzle out. She's like, I don't want to wait 2 weeks and then we never talk to each other again. We're having a good moment. This is all fun. This is great. So you follow a lot of different days in this 56 days. Like 56 days ago was when they decided to move in together, or no, when they first met. And then I think it's like 35 days is like when they move in together. And then you're following today when cops are called about a smell in Oliver's apartment and they show up to find a dead body. A dead body. What? It says no one even knew they were together. No, now one of them is dead. That's a very interesting premise. I think that this is a book where I like talking about this book more than I would reading this book. And I also I told everybody that I work with, Grace would literally tell me, like, she would go up to somebody and she'd be like, has Katie told you about that book, 56 Days? Let her tell you about it. Because it's such a good, interesting highlight of a story, but I would never tell somebody to read it. I gave it 3.5 stars. It's not that good. It's really not that good. It's not. There's so many things in this book that were really bad, but then there were things about this book I did really like. I think the premise is great. The mystery is terrible. So, okay, the talk of COVID, 4 stars, so amazing. Like, you can tell I put a lot of tabs for that. The mystery is 2 stars. In the beginning, it's interesting, but then there's just plot twist after plot twist after plot twist that's like so inconceivable and ridiculous, and that there's no lead up to it all. Like, you're told something from one character's point of view in their head. You're told things. And then 50 pages later, they go back and retell what you'd already heard inside their head, and it's inside their head again, and you're being told they lied in the first time, but they're lying to themselves because we were inside their noggin. How is that possible? I don't understand. And then also, oh my God, Catherine Ryan Howard would tell the same scenario over and over and over again out of different point of views. Like, okay, so say conversations that happen between Oliver and Sierra, you would get from Sierra's point of view. And then a couple chapters later, you'd get the same conversation told through Oliver's point of view. Okay, I can understand that. I can see that. But then another 30 pages later, you would get the same conversation again from one of their points of views, telling you that there was some huge miscommunication or lie that one of them had been telling us this whole time, where I'm like, I already heard this dialogue 3 times. Please don't make me live it again. Please, I'm begging you. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. I couldn't stand that. But I am going to keep this on my shelf, even though it's 3.5 stars, which is shocking for me, because the talk of COVID in this book is so phenomenal. And I related to Sierra, and like her mental health during the pandemic was so closely related to my own, and the way that she viewed the pandemic and the way she reacted to it was very similar to myself. So I knew that I needed to keep this so I could look back on those moments. And I actually ended up putting in here. So the left side is statistics of things that were going on during COVID and up until now that I find so insanely shocking. Like, just blow me away. Like the fact that from March 2020 to August 2021, worldwide, there's been 4.55 million COVID deaths and 219 million cases. Like, that's absolutely insane. And then I live in Georgia, and there has been 1.4 million cases. That's insane. And then I also put a list of insane things that happened in 2021 or 2020, the hell year, like all the wild things that didn't even have to do with COVID. And then the other side, I wrote the things that I felt like would stand out to me that are like the highlight reel of my COVID experience. And one of them, like, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you because why not? One of them is that the owner of the restaurant that I worked in called an emergency meeting where he shoved everyone, and there's 2 restaurants that are combined. So he shoved everyone from both restaurants, including kitchen and service staff of both restaurants, into a tiny room that is like enclosed. There's no windows. It's one door, and no one was wearing a mask. Grace and I sat on the floor near the door for ventilation, and our general manager, who had just gotten off a plane from Brazil, was coughing really bad, and he ended up having COVID, and he was in the room with us. That was so much fun. And that they said that we would be closed for a few days, 2 weeks max, until this whole thing blows over in Asia. We ended up being closed for a year. And as I'm typing this, a new variant of the virus Delta has emerged and shut everything down yet again. So that's wild. And then I also said that I would walk to Target to get groceries, and that there was a letterboard outside of an elementary school that had permanently closed due to COVID, and that the letterboard read, "It has been an honor." And I was like, oh God, that broke my fucking heart when I would do that, when I passed that. And that also essential employees were the only ones like in Atlanta that were permitted to be driving. And I had to carry around like a signed document saying that I was an essential employee in case I was pulled over by the police, because that was happening. That's freaking crazy. And then that I started like obsessively redecorating my apartment. And then I just put a list of things that I read while I was doing that would jog my memory, and that I consumed so many books that I started a YouTube channel that has been met with great feedback. So that's pretty amazing. This book means a lot to me, but I'm not telling you to read it because it's not that great, but I liked it. Anyway, this next one, I literally just posted a reading vlog for like 2 or 3 days ago. So I'll try to be brief about my opinions because I went in depth at the end of that video, and it is Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. Now, this was such an amazing ride for me. This was sent to me by Emma Tompkins, and I'm so grateful to her because this was right, like I think it was the day or the day after, I don't know. It was one of the days where I filmed the books that I needed to read for my TBR, and then I got this in the mail, and I immediately started reading it because I was like, oh my God, of course I don't want to read what's on my TBR right now. I want to read the new and fresh thing. And I have never read smut before. I've only physically read one romance that I can think of, and it is Red, White, and Royal Blue, and that's not like really, well, I guess people might consider that a little smutty, but I don't think it was. But I'm not like a smut reader. I don't really care. I'm not an erotica reader. Now, I like the foreplay. I like the word banter, like verbal sparring. Absolutely love mutual respect, enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers, love that. But the actual like sex in books, I don't care. Like, I'll just kind of skip past it. That did trend on in this book, where there, in the beginning, I'd say like for this much of it, I was like, oh my God, what? And then after like the first 2 times like something sexual happens, I was like, oh, okay, well, I mean, okay. And I would just like kind of skip because I'm like, I don't really care about the sex, but the build up to the sex, fantastic. Wow, I didn't tell you what this book is about. Okay, Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas is probably one of the most like well-known, sought after bully romances of all time. It's all over TikTok. It's all over the booktube community. And I do feel like it is for a reason, because it is very easy to get your hands on. It's very easy to understand. It's easy to fall in love with these characters. And there is a lot of elements of this book that are not just the romance, that are very good. Like, I was surprised at how much I cared about everything else. Like, there's the romance, which I really liked, but I loved the two characters. We're following Rin and Misha, and they're both in high school. They're both 18, which I enjoyed that they were 18, because I'm like, I don't like when a book like this would be like they're 15 or 16. I'm like, gross. Honestly, if they had been in college, I would have liked a little bit more, but they are in high school. And when they were young, when they were in elementary school, they were paired together at different schools to be pen pals, because the teachers thought that they were both girls because their names are very effeminate. And when they found out that one of them was like, Misha's a boy and Ren is a girl, they didn't stop messaging each other because they kind of fell in love with each other's minds. And they have been sending each other letters like every day, basically, for the last like 7 years. And they've like not mutually, like both of them separately have fallen in love with each other, but they don't want to risk saying anything or meeting in person, because then that would kind of ruin the relationship that they have right now, because they made a pact years and years ago that they would never, ever go to each other's house, because they have each other's address, obviously. They would never meet up in person. They would never look up each other online, so they can kind of keep this like anonymity going. But then out of nowhere, 3 months before the timeline of this book, Misha stops writing, and Rin doesn't know why. And a lot of her identity is kind of held together by Misha. And without having him there, she becomes a very different person, trying to find herself, and she doesn't like the person that she's become. That storyline is fantastic. The storyline of why Misha isn't writing anymore is fantastic. I absolutely loved it. This book goes way deeper into things that I didn't think they would. It goes, there's talk of, well, not like, it's more vaguely discussed, but the fact that it was even brushed upon, I loved, was drug addiction and like uppers. Like, not like, oh, I'm a drug addict, like how you would normally hear people talk about it in books like this. It was like drugs to help someone finish their schoolwork. And I was like, that's interesting. I really like that. Especially like someone so young or something. Like, that was really good. There's death, there's grieving, there's absentee parents. That are just so beautiful, as such a beautiful storyline, especially when it's like, I like that Penelope Douglas dug into stuff like that, not in a, we're gonna solve everything and then I'll be happy. It's like, no, I need to be happy on my own. I'm not gonna wait for you to make me happy. I'm gonna be happy without you. And I was like, that is so awesome. I loved it. But then basically Misha goes to a party and accidentally ends up meeting Rin, but Rin doesn't know it's him, and he knows it's her. And he doesn't want to lose this connection that they kind of have budding between like her thinking it's a stranger. So he starts going to her school and pretending to be Mason. And she doesn't know it's the same guy. And then she kind of starts feeling something for him. And it's this bully romance of like, he's pushing her away. He's like bullying her, but then she kind of thinks it's hot. And like, it's good. I really liked it. You could tell I tabbed the heck out of this book. And I really ended up enjoying this. I gave it 4 stars, absolutely loved it, and I will be keeping it on my shelf. We're here to talk about it, okay? The final book, I waited till the end. I just finished it like a couple days ago, and oh my God, if you don't like to hear people talk trash about your fave, you might as well leave the video now, because all I have to say is trash. All I have to say is trash. Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. What have you guys been talking about? Are y'all okay? Are y'all okay? This book is horrible. It's like, I want to apologize if you love this book. You have the right to your opinion. But my opinion is that this book is 0 stars. I gave it 1 star, but this book is so bad. It's so bad. Here's the thing. It made me so angry because the premise of the book, the world building of the book, a lot of elements of the story are so fantastic. They're so good. Oh my God. You put all that down on a piece of paper, I would be like, write that book immediately, sell it to me, I'll publish it. Oh my God, so good. And then you go to read the book and you're like, this is trash. It's trash. This is some of the worst writing I've ever read. Like, legit, period. Some of the worst writing I've ever read. The annotation thing was so stupid. Like, at first, I was like, so he puts, like, annotations, like, let me see if I can find, they're on so many of the pages, but of course it's not in the first chapter. Like, on so many of the, okay, here we go. He has annotations, I don't know if you can see that, but this down, all of that is just one annotation. and then you flip and it does it again. All of this is annotation, all of this is annotation. Sometimes it's comedic relief, but most of the time it's just like talking about the history, where I was like, why couldn't you tell me? Like, why couldn't you show me instead of like putting like historical blurbs in the text? If you're reading it, I would honestly say to skip them unless they're only a sentence or 2 sentences long, which means that they are for comedic value and those kind of things were funny. The rest of it is pointless and stupid. And then also, okay, what is this book about? Have you ever seen a 9th grade edgelord, like at the back of an anime class, furiously drawing their idea of a perfect woman in like their old ratty sketchbook that says, open and die? Well, the girl that boy is drawing is Mia Carrera. Like, Jay Kristoff is an edgelord. Let's just go ahead and get that out there. He's an edgelord, okay? This is about Mia, and she's going to a school to become an assassin. That's basically the entire plot. I'm sure that the next book's going to more shit or whatever. Cool. I ended up DNFing this at 75%, and listen, I get it. I didn't finish it, but I absolutely loathed 75% of it, so why would I even continue? Like, I was struggling from 60% to 75%, being like, just finish it, just finish it, just finish it. And then I'm like, it's terrible. It's terrible. Okay. Oh, there's so much stuff to unpack about this book. There's so much that's horrible, but I'm just going to talk about a handful of things. Katie, get yourself together. It's okay. It's just a book. But is it? No. It's a plight on humanity. The first scene in this book, the very first opening scene, is Mia losing her virginity to a stranger. Okay, like, if this was an adult book, okay, it's supposed to be an adult book, but the main character is 16 years old. She's 16 years old, and the first scene is her having sex with a stranger, losing her virginity. Like, why? What was the reason? What was the reason? I don't understand. And then also, if she had at least been 19 years old, this book would have gone so much differently in my eyes. But she is constantly being spoken of like, oh, the pale daughter, you're a child murderer, like a child of the darkness. And I'm like, she's being spoken of as being small and slight and naive and ignorant and a child. But then she's put in these situations by the author that are so grotesque. Like, okay, the first sex scene in this book it's fast and it's not really spoken about that in depth, but there's a sex scene 50% of the way through the book that is so grotesquely descriptive. I was like throwing up in my mouth. Like, you've got Jay Kristoff. That's disgusting. What are you doing? She's 16 years old. And the guy, like the other main character, Trick, read like a man and she reads like a child. And then also the narrator's voice is so whiny and petulant that made her seem like agonizing to read. It was so agonizing. Also, our girl Mia gets a boob job in the book. And it's not just a scene, it's like talked about a lot. She gets a boob job to make her a better assassin. And while I can kind of understand that, why did we talk about it so much? Like, why are we always talking about it? Why is it like such a thing that we're talking about? And then also we're in Mia's head and she's so obsessed with her boobs. I'm like, okay. And then also, Jay Kristoff will not stop talking about how not pretty Mia is. And I'm like, okay, like, why do you bring it up all the time? And it's not like in a Mia's insecure way. It's in a, oh, well, she's down to earth. She's not like other girls. She's better than everyone. It's like, she's so thin. She's so pale. She's so slight. Oh, she has such an angular nose. And I'm like, okay, Jay Kristoff, we can all collectively put our dick back in our pants. Like, also, let's talk about the hyper-feminism in this book. Hyper-feminism in this book. Jay Kristoff really thinks he's a feminist, and how dare the audacity of this man to be proud of himself. The audacity. Are you kidding me? No. It's like the way that he writes the feminism in this can only be written by a man. It can only be written by a man. And the best example of that is when, oh my God, when Mia goes on this whole tirade because Trick says that he's not comfortable using the C word. And she goes on this whole tirade, this whole TED talk about how the C word is so empowering and how dare he like not want to say that. If he's going to say the word dick, like, then why can't he say that word or whatever, where I don't want to get demonetized, so I'm not going to say it. But she's like, how dare you? That's an empowering word. Like, you should think it's beautiful and stunning. And I'm like, oh my God, girl. He was trying to be respectful. And it wasn't about you. He said that his mother didn't like that word. It's about his mom. It's like, it's not even about you. Can you just like keep your words inside your mouth? Because like your words are annoying. They're so annoying. Also, the writing in this book is so bad that it's like insulting how bad it is. It's insulting. It's truly terrible. It's so bad. He would just never let a metaphor go. This entire book is metaphors and similes. Like, you're just swimming through similes trying to get to the point, and it's agonizing. And like, say one of them is like, there's a shadow that follows Mia around that that looks like a cat but isn't a cat, and it's always over and over and over being said, the cat that's not a cat, the not cat. And I'm like, yeah, I got it the first time. Like, I got it. I understand. And then also, she'll describe, like, Jake Kristoff will describe people's appearance in a very dramatic way. Like, you've all heard it before, but his beauty was like a fresh suicide. But then he keeps it going forever, like his corpse beauty, like his deadly beauty, like, oh my God, it's just so stupid. It's so dumb. Or like, there's like a character who he talks about, like, has a smile like cutlery. What does that even mean? Like, what does that even mean? And he's like, his knife smile, his cutlery smile. I'm like, I need to stop talking about this. I need to stop talking about it. It's so bad. It's so bad. I can't. Okay, Katie, shut up. Stop talking. These people are so upset with you right now. And we're done. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this really lengthy wrap up. Again, they're always lengthy, and especially if you got all the way through that giant rant review for Nevernight. So because of that book, if you got this far into the video, I want you to leave the emoji of the character doing this, because this is how I feel about that freaking book. Oh my God. No, Katie, don't talk about it again. Oh my God. Anyway, hello, you and me right here. We're being present. We're still in the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to follow me on Goodreads or Instagram, they are going to be linked down below, as well as a myriad of other links if you want to check them out. I hope you're having an amazing day, evening, night, dusk, dawn, whatever it is you're having, and I will catch you in another video coming very soon. Bye.